Hello there, people. Vestin here.
And Difym here as well.
Dif, are you ready to shriek in terror at the thought of your limbs slowly, but surely and inevitably turning into granular silica?
It's something that I've remembered from my past childhood.
Yeah, I guess it happens to people from time to time, doesn't it?
Yeah, pretty ordinary.
It's the 6th edition of Goofbumps. Welcome to Sand Hands.
And fittingly, his hands are actually turning into sand.
Of course they are. It's terrifying, it's frightening, it's a choose-your-own-adventure story. And it's made by Botnik. So predictably enough, it's going to be spookily stochastic.
Probably funnier and more spooky, in fact, than whatever humans can write.
Well, it's essentially an amalgam of what they do right. It's an average of them. Shall we proceed inside?
Indeed. Let's take a peek. A gander, if you will.
It's not appropriate for children. Cover their eyes, cover their ears.
Are we children?
I don't know.
Perhaps mentally. Chronologically, we're not children, though.
I don't believe I am a child, no. I don't believe I ever was, in fact.
So you had no childhood reference.
Yeah, precisely. It gets easier as you get older, though. It gets more relatable. Anyway, let's not read this from beginning to end, because this is a choose-your-own-adventure story. Let's not be morons about this. Would you care to read out the first few paragraphs about frogs?
Right. Frogs. Why does it have to be frogs?
Do you have an answer to that question, by the way?
Well, I'm the one who asked the question, so if you please.
That's a good point, yes. I believe that might be a loaded question. You see, there is an inherent assumption here that it has to be frogs, whereas in fact, potentially, it doesn't have to be. Although...
Well, it's all a matter of perspective, isn't it?
Well, yes. I mean, it might be a deontological statement on frogs. It's like frogs ought to be. Like, no, I don't necessarily agree. Maybe frogs are absolutely optional. They could be, but they don't have to be. Also, it might all be tied to the notion of scary things, and frogs are tied to the plague of frogs, aren't they?
Yeah. Although, I've always thought toads were more scary than frogs, for whatever reason.
True. Now, Indiana Jones would probably be scared of snakes, but these are frogs. Different type of creature. Amphibian, not
Anyway.
right. Yes, I'm sorry, yes. We got stuck after a single paragraph, yes.
We're trying to read a book here.
You're psyched for some school time. But your cousin made you miss the bus. Now you'll be late for sports. No problem, she says. You can just do walking through zombie forest. Intimidating, isn't it?
Do you dare beat
Feet.
feet through scary woods?
Beat feet as in practically walk.
Yes. If you do, you might get a magic sword, or even a soda can from a ghostly horse. But how will you hold either when your hands are made of sand?
Dun dun dun. That is terrifying.
That does seem like a tricky circumstance, doesn't it? Sand is not well known for holding together when you're trying to hold a magic sword.
It is indeed a very troublesome substance. Especially to model in physics, it doesn't behave like much of anything. It does not behave like liquid, but it sure as hell doesn't behave like a solid. It's very weird. Trying to model sand is an absolute pain. Also, it does sound like a quest, doesn't it? You go into that forest, it poses a threat, but you'll probably get a reward when you get there, unless you're not cut out for it. Unless you fail and your hands turn to sand.
But we shall see what curse this person gets.
Maybe you should stay home where the toys are. But be careful, you could wake up one day and find yourself married with vampires.
Still probably a better love story than Twilight.
Well, not sure about that. Depends on the version of vampires, obviously, but still.
True.
Obviously, it follows from the paragraph that we've just gone over. It clearly poses a different path we could go down. You could not enter the forest. You could just stay home where the toys are. But that doesn't sound exciting, does it?
So it's either zombies or vampires.
That's true. Indeed, it's going to be undead no matter what. You could go to zombie forest, or you could just stay home and potentially find yourself married with vampires.
This scary adventure is all about you. You decide what will happen, and how terrifying the scares will be.
Of course, it's just choose your own adventure book. That adds up. That does make sense.
Right.
Start on page 1. I think we're all on the same page here. Then follow the instructions at the bottom of each page. You make the choices. In this case, we both make the choices. We will have to figure that one out. If you choose well, you might strike a mummy in the face. But if you make the wrong choice, be well. So take a deep breath, cross your fingers, and turn to page 1 to give yourself goosebumps.
And not Goofbumps.
Indeed. Don't click on credits. For the love of God, read page 1.
I shall begin. I don't think it's okay that we have to eat yogurt every day. Your cousin complains. You keep your mouth shut. You like yogurt.
Well, you see, every story needs conflict pretty much by definition. Now, this can be argued, but I think the conflict that we have been shown here is already tremendous. What's your stance on yogurt? Is yogurt okay? Is yogurt good, in fact? Is it neutral? Or is it something that you should treat with derision?
Are you asking me as a human being?
Yes. What is your stance on yogurt? No, I'm sorry to put you on the spot like this. I understand that this is obviously a subject of much debate in the world.
I'm gonna side with the person that has to keep his mouth shut. Or her mouth shut.
You like yogurt?
I like yogurt.
Some people are lactose intolerant. Of course, all sorts of issues can enter into that, and they might like yogurt, but it's not necessarily good for them. But still, to live in a society where you can't speak up for yourself. Well, you like yogurt, sure, but you don't want to argue about it, or you can't argue about it.
But then again, the cousin also has a valid complaint. Why do they have to eat yogurt every day?
True.
Why is the cousin being forced?
Perhaps they live in an oppressive society where yogurt isn't simply something you can enjoy, but it is indeed mandatory. What a horrible world that must be. Alright, yogurt. It's Thursday morning, and you and your cousin Zoe are choking down breakfast before classroom. That does make sense. I think classroom here is used in temporal sense, not in physical, spatial sense, right? Before class, presumably.
Yep.
Not in front of the classroom. Zoe's been staying with you ever since your aunt was stabbed by that man, and she's way, way cool. She's just as tall as you are, and she has the most amazing scent you've ever seen. So, immediately we get synesthesia here. Sometimes you bump into her on purpose.
So she's way, way cool, but she doesn't like yogurt. Or at least not as much as you do.
True. She's cool, she doesn't like yogurt. Maybe that's going to influence your stance on yogurt. She's about as tall as you are, and she has an amazing scent that you are able to perceive visually. Also, you bump into her, so there's also tactile experiences.
The question is she consenting to the bumping in?
It all sounds very awkward. But, that's how it is. Of course, the cousin aspect entering into this makes me feel kind of uneasy about the entire situation. But back to eating, Div.
Yes. Eat the fruit at the bottom before you're covered in late. Your mom says as she hurries down the stairs. You're not too young to get the hook, you know? I am flabbergasted.
I think the general idea here is that they don't want to be late for school, and ultimately the hook is presumably some form of punishment. I don't know, maybe a left hook or something.
That's illegal nowadays, in most locations that I know of.
True.
Or, also receiving a hook to the face is also quite painful.
Indeed. So it is a threat that's not really veiled at all. It is a straightforward threat.
But have you ever been so late you're covered in late?
To a certain extent, it does make sense, the figure of speech, of course, in an alternate reality. Covered in late. It's not latte, it's definitely being covered in late. You've never seen the hook, but you know that's a threat, as we've already discussed. Come on, Aunt Mom, Zoe whines. Can't we have some fun food instead?
Shh, you shush her.
Once again, she's probably complaining about yogurt again.
Yes, as she often does, apparently.
Well, she has a reason. We've already established that as well. Your mom scoops some cheese sauce into her purse and promises to be home in time for dinner. Orange peels and schmör. What's schmör, you wonder? But she's already out the door.
So, she didn't tell you this. She scooped up whatever that... Did she scoop up a
Cheese sauce. Cheese sauce.
Yes. And then orange peels and also schmer. A bottle of schmer, presumably, because otherwise you would know what schmer is.
True, it might be in some container, yes. Or maybe you see the thing, but you don't know the ingredients.
Possibly.
But yes, I think that might be related to dinner. Or may it not?
Oh, is that the dinner?
Well, it's mentioned in such a fashion.
Orange peels and schmer for dinner.
Yes. She'll be home in time for presumably, she's definitely busy as far as her job is concerned. We don't know about the whole... actually, the babysitter situation doesn't even really come into this, does it? Kids will be at school, so everything is going to be fine. But she's already out the door, so presumably they can walk to school and they'll be fine. Unless, of course, they venture into the deep, dark zombie forest, which would be terrifying.
Or if they get forcibly married to a vampire.
Well, that's what happens when you stay home. That's one of the reasons to attend school.
Also, cheese sauce in your purse.
Yes, well, presumably in some container.
Well, that's not what I would gather from the way it was written, but sure. I'm not going to eat the rest of this, Zoe tells you once your mom's out of ear distance. Uh-oh.
Yeah, very joke, you reply. Sometimes Zoe's sense of humor isn't so cool. Chop down, or we won't be at school. That does make sense, once again. It's a restatement of what we've already been through. It's like, yeah, okay, we get it, she doesn't like it. But that's a very lame comeback. Ultimately, they have to eat up, they have to get to school. Time is of the essence here.
However, you don't necessarily have to eat all of your breakfast before going to school.
Well, that depends on the amount of breakfast. But ultimately, you don't want to be famished when you're at school. That's terrible for your learning.
Yes, but also being force-fed yogurt is also not particularly good for your mental well-being.
Where's the father in all of this? Seems to be absent in this story entirely.
Probably eaten by yogurts, for all we know.
Anyway.
School is so cool, you think. You can barely believe you get to go somewhere so cool. Miss Feeble is your favorite teach lady because she cries like a wimp every single day.
Oh.
Your school books are really heavy, like bricks made of facts. And you have a friend, Brad.
Well, that does make sense. It all adds up. School books are indeed heavy. Poor Miss Feeble.
Well, her parents did quite a lot of thinking when... Oh wait, no, that's her surname.
Yes.
That's a whole line of feeble people.
Yes, maybe her husband is Mr. Feeble and is the reason she's crying every day. But we don't know. Might be personal issues, might not be. Maybe she's just not cut out to be a teacher.
Also, bricks made of facts. A wonderful metaphor for school books.
Indeed, exquisite. You and Brad are just alike. He's exactly the same height as you, and he loves your cousin's feet. You met him last summer at a lip-smacking contest. Brad won, of course, but you got a couple of good smacks in too. He has a sarcastic remark for everything, but unlike Zoe, he never goes too far. So he sounds like a very sensible fellow with a foot fetish who's into your cousin.
Well, there's nothing wrong with being into someone else's cousin.
There's absolutely nothing wrong. Lip-smacking contest, that sounds to me like some sort of debate club or something along those lines, unless we are to be very literal.
Yeah, it could actually be a good metaphor for a debate.
Lip-smacking, yes. A very, very exotic idiom.
It reminds me of me. by the sarcastic remark for everything.
But doesn't go too far, of course, and is into Zoe's feet. Makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I mean, as a person with a foot fetish... Wait, what? I'm not giving anything away.
Indeed.
Anyway,
Yes,
I'm the
go on.
king of not kidding, Zoe insists. Let's make garlic bread or peanut butter pancakes. You can't believe it. She's serious.
Well, she said she wasn't kidding. I believe we can take her at her word.
But she's not the king.
Why not?
Well, she'd be the queen, right?
No, Def, we've been over this one. Remember that story where it was not legal to have a queen in the Kingdom of Poland? So they figured, okay, fine, then this lady is just going to be the king. That's precisely the same concept.
Good grief.
You have to admit, it feels like a pancakes kind of day. So we're already taking sides here as far as the pancakes versus garlic bread debate is concerned. But the battle crate is empty. You have no choice but to call Pancakes Rocky, who used to be your stepdad. There just isn't plenty of time.
Pancakes Rocky. What a name.
Yes.
Also, used to be your stepdad. That's an interesting insight into the... Well, that's where the dad went.
Precisely, yes. So we get an insight into this parental figure that's absent. Pancakes Rocky.
Presumably still alive, so it was a divorce rather than...
Well, they might be in separation at this particular point. We don't know. Maybe she just... we don't know if she got custody of the kids or if they are just separated for the time being. There is some conflict there, certainly. Maybe around food. Pancakes Rocky might be more into pancakes than yogurt.
Also, just because the batter crate is empty doesn't mean you have to call someone who's not around, presumably. You could just...
Make dough.
I mean, would Pancakes Rocky come in on time to make the pancakes, for them to eat the pancakes, and then get to school? That seems logistically implausible.
Aren't they already at school? Hold on. Oh no, they're just thinking about school for now.
Yes.
But Brad was referenced. No, they're just reminiscing at this point, I guess. I don't think Pancakes Rocky can make it there in time. I don't know, maybe he lives next door. Maybe it's viable. Maybe he has some spare pancakes. Just tossed them into the microwave. Who knows? How much time do we have? Then again, there just isn't plenty of time.
Exactly. Presumably not plenty of time, but apparently some time.
But this leads us to the problem with the bus.
We can't, you tell her. Sal the bus driver hates me, and he'll be here in the next few...
Wait, is that a sound of rubber wheels and yellow? Ah! It's Sal the bus driver.
Yellow. The sound of yellow. Now we have the other way around.
The yellow school bus, of course, with rubber wheels, as they tend to be made of rubber, obviously. Page 3.
It's the school bus, alright. And it has definitely arrived. The doors screech open, and Sal smiles when he notices you're not there. Looks like the cowboy of nerds will be lassoing his own way to school, he guffaws.
What an asshole!
You stifle a laugh. That's really funny. Sal disappears into the darkness, and the bus stop fades away.
No!
So, okay, first of all...
Maybe you lost consciousness.
He smiles... How do you see him smiling if he can't see you? Are you purposely hiding from Sal?
Presumably, yes.
But yet close enough to see him smile.
Maybe you're looking out the window and there are curtains there in the way.
Also, Sal disappears into the darkness, so this is probably the winter?
And the bus stop fades away. There's a possibility that the person lost consciousness at this particular point. Maybe everything went dark. Or maybe...
Or maybe just Sal took the bus stop with him. He just took the sign.
It is a remote possibility.
Also, cowboy of nerds.
The cowboy of the... He will have to lasso his way to school himself. Maybe he did decide to lasso his way because the bus ultimately was impossible to get on, and the bus stop disappeared. It faded away because he was running to school on foot. It's also a distinct possibility. Maybe the reason the bus is there so they don't have to take a trek through the zombie forest. Maybe it's a shortcut, but a dangerous one. Not sure about the topology of this area.
We need to draw a map, I think, at some point.
Excellent. This isn't good luck, for sure. You have the biggest basketball game of your life today. You're playing against the splinter kids from Wood Panel Lake. And Brad will be counting on you and your famous sandpaper pass to do a dunk. Brad is your favorite player. I think we've established already that Brad is very much so liked by the protagonist.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of bromance between Brad and the protagonist, I guess.
Indeed. Also, basketball, the sports thing, it was mentioned previously. It's all connected, it'll make sense.
Also the sandpaper pass. I wonder what sort of pass that is.
I'm not that into basketball, so I don't know the technical terms.
I haven't got the faintest.
Yeah. I think it's some maneuver between the two of them that ultimately results in a scored point, but I'm not sure. I will leave that to the experts.
I'm not sure what to do, you cry. You're pathetic.
Don't be wet, Zoe tells you. We can just go to school on foot. Yeah, I figured this would happen.
That will take us forever.
Not if we take the shortcut, she smiles. Gulp.
Zoe's right. If you take the bridge over Zombie Forest, you'll reach your school in time. But the putrid smell of decaying flesh is just too much to think about right now. On the other hand, if you decide to stay put, you will miss some great sports. And your mom might crumble your face. What are you going to do?
We have a choice. We can take the bridge or we can stay home. But if we stay home, vampires, Dave. Do we take the bridge? Do we go on a journey?
Vampires or zombies? Vampires or zombies?